Okay guys, the topic now that we will be dealing with will be the brachial plexus. It is one of the very important 10-mark questions in upper limb. So now let's start with the formation of the brachial plexus. The brachial plexus is formed from the vertical rami of C5 to T1 spinal nerves. Sometimes C4 will take part in the formation, and this type of brachial plexus is known as the prefixed type of brachial plexus. Sometimes T2 will take part in the formation, and it is known as the postfixed type of brachial plexus. And now to the components of the brachial plexus. So there's a very easy acronym that I use, that is really tired, drink a coffee. So directly translates to roots, trunks, divisions, cords, and branches of nerves. So now it can be divided into three parts. The supraclavicular part, which consists of the roots and trunks, and then the retroclavicular part, which consists of the divisions, and then the infraclavicular part, which contains the cords and branches. So let me tell you an easy way to draw the brachial plexus. First you jot down the points, that is C5, C6, C7, C8 to T1, and then you connect C5 and C6, and then you connect C8 and T1. C7 stays single, and then you draw the trunks, the upper, middle and lower trunks, and then the upper, middle and lower trunks give anterior and posterior divisions each. And then from this, the anterior division of the upper trunk and the anterior division of the middle trunk are connected, and the posterior division of all these three trunks are connected, and then the anterior division of the lower trunk stays single. And you can start naming them roots, trunks, divisions, and cords. C5, C6, C7, C8, T1. Upper, middle, and lower. Anterior, posterior, and anterior, posterior for everything. And then you have the lateral cord, posterior cord, and the medial cord. And that's it. And now we go to the branches. In the trunk, there's a nerve to subclavius and a suprascapular nerve. And on the C5 root, we get the dorsal scapular nerve. And then the C5, C6, C7 together join to form the long thoracic nerve. And now we move on to the branches. From the roots, we have the dorsal scapular nerve formed from C5. And then we have the long thoracic nerve from C5, C6 and C7. And then from the trunks, we have the suprascapular nerve from C5, C6 and the nerve to subclavius from C5 and C6. And the most important thing, from the cords. Now the cords can be divided into three. There is a lateral, medial and posterior cords. Each one of them has a specific acronym. For the lateral, it is LML, and for the medial, it is M4U, and for the posterior cord, it is ulnar. And for the lateral cord, it starts with the lateral pectoral nerve, the musculocutaneous nerve, and then the lateral root of median nerve. And then for the medial cord, we go for the medial pectoral nerve, the medial root of median nerve, medial cutaneous nerve of arm, the medial cutaneous nerve of forearm, and then the ulnar nerve. And then from the posterior cord, we have the upper and lower subscapular nerves. And the nerve to latissimus dorsi, the axillary nerve, and then the radial nerve. And now we move on to the root values of each and every nerve. And for everything in the lateral cord, it is C5, C6 and C7. And for all the M's in the medial cord, it is C8, T1. And for the ulnar nerve specifically, it is C7, C8 and T1. And for the posterior root, upper and lower subscapular nerves have C5, C6. Latissimus dorsi has C6, C7, C8. For axillary, it is C5, C6. And radial, it is C5 and all the way to T1. And now, an important point, that the largest branch of brachial plexus is the radial nerve. That is C5 to T1, which also shares a root value with median nerve. And now we go to the last part, that is the applied aspect of the brachial plexus. The first one will be Erb's palsy. It is caused due to injury to the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. And the nerve roots involved in Erb's palsy are C5 and C6. And now we go to Erb's point. Erb's point is located in the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. It is a meeting point of 6 nerves. And now a small diagram for the Erb's point. You draw the roots of C5, C6, which end in through the upper trunk to the anterior and posterior divisions. And from the upper trunk, you draw the suprascapular nerve and nerve to subclavius. The point that joins all this is known as the Erb's point. And thus the meeting point of 6 nerves. In Erb's palsy, it is also important to know about the position of the upper limb. It is known as the policeman's tip deformity, in which the arm is adducted and medially rotated, and the forearm is extended and pronated. And the next one will be the Klumpke's palsy. The Klumpke's palsy is an injury to the lower trunk of the brachial plexus. And then the nerve root involved are C8 and T1 mainly. In this defect, all the intrinsic muscles of the hand are affected or paralyzed. Okay, and now we go to the deformity part of Klumpke's paralysis. So first one will be claw hand deformity, in which all the medial forefingers are flexed. We also have the Horner syndrome, which is due to the involvement of the T1 nerve root. And that's it, guys. Thank you. And that's easy anatomy for you. And please like and subscribe.